Hello and welcome to our third episode of the Lebanese Physicians Podcast. And this will be my first interview with one of the Lebanese physicians, it's Dr. Wassim Mchayleh. Dr. Mchayleh actually was in Atlanta, Georgia, prior to moving to Lebanon in 2019, and subsequently has moved back to the US and is currently working in Orlando as a hematologist oncologist at Advent Health. And without further ado, hello, Dr. Mchayleh. How are things today?
Hi, Khalil. Things are great. Thank you for having me.
Good.
Happy New Year to you and to everyone.
Great to you too. So, can you tell us a bit about you and about how you came to the U.S., how you trained here, and how you decided to move back to Lebanon?
So, I went to medical school at St. Joseph University. It's the French university in Lebanon. Like all the other students, when we were in Lebanon, I graduated from medical school in 2002. Back then, I wasn't sure if I'm going to come to the United States, but things happened, and facts were stronger than my will. So it led me to George Washington, where I did my residency. I applied for my USMLE. I did my interviews. I was hoping not to match. I ranked 3 out of 9 programs and didn't rank the rest, hoping that I don't match. And then I ended up at George Washington, which was my first choice. I came to the United States thinking that everything was Washington, D.C. It was a great 3 years in D.C. where you live right now, Khalil. Then I applied for fellowship. I interviewed in 10 different places, and I landed at the University of Pittsburgh because I was aiming to one of the top 10 programs in the nation. Following that, I had to take a job in Georgia in an underserved area because I was on a J-1 visa, like many of us. And then I followed my path to the green card, then to the citizenship, and I practiced for 10 years in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, similar to what I did, I guess.
Yeah. In 2018, 2019, I was considering relocating to Lebanon. It was not an easy decision, but for family reasons, I thought it is worth a shot. It's a dream. And then what I learned later in Arabic, it's a susi. That was in my head. So I went to Lebanon. I joined the Lebanese American University as their fellowship program director. I moved there and started on February 1st, 2019 or 2019.
Yeah, 2019. I think it was 1 month after I arrived myself. Yep.
Initially, I was excited. I was happy. I had all the energy. I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to make it work. I believed in Lebanon. I believed that if you have high standards and high education and excellent credentials, people are going to realize your value. Unfortunately, in April 2019, 2 months after I moved to Lebanon, I had to come back to the United States to take my 10-year board recertification. The next day after I landed in Atlanta for my board exam, my father had a heart attack and passed away. So I had to fly back emergently to Lebanon, and from there, things went downhill. I don't think it was related to the incident because my presence next to my mom was of great value, but I had less excitement about being there. And I tried to make it work, but to be honest with you, I was very disappointed with the standard of care in Lebanon and the practice of medicine. I just could not fit in. You had to change many of your standards and values to be able to blend in, and I just could not do it. So 6 to 9 to 8 months after that, I started considering going back to the United States. It was not an easy decision because my family had relocated and I had bought a house and my kids were enrolled in schools in Lebanon. So I started splitting my time between coming back to the US, doing some locum, and going back to Lebanon and trying to weigh my options to see if what's not keeping me comfortable. And sure enough, in October, I went to Chicago to do my locum assignment, and the revolution and all the demonstrations started.
Right.
Schools closed. There was roadblocks and there was unrest in Lebanon. And I think from there, everything went downhill. So at that point...
Right, that's when the major economic crisis started.
It had started, but it wasn't...
as major, right.
It was not that major.
Yeah.
During that time, I was still working in the United States, doing my locum assignment, flying every 2 weeks with some money in my pocket. Then what happened is I started, when things started to go downhill, I started exploring going back to my old job in Atlanta because I had taken a sabbatical year. During that process, a friend of mine contacted me about an opening in Orlando at Advent Health. And Advent Health is a very large healthcare system. It's one of the largest in the United States. They operate like 50 hospitals. It's faith-based. And it is like the hospital here in Orlando is like 1,200 beds, is as big as Lebanon, I think. So considered this option and then decided to take it and moved back. And, during this whole process, the situation continued to deteriorate in Lebanon. So as I was here, I was witnessing the decline of the whole system, economically, financially, the healthcare system, plus the COVID
situation.
Pandemic affected Lebanon, made the economy worse. Now I am in Orlando, Florida. I couldn't be happier. I just bought a house, moved my family back from Lebanon, and relocated for good.
I'm sure you're happy that your family has arrived over here now.
Finally. Initially, I wanted them to stay for a little longer, but I started getting worried about their education, about their safety, and about their health. So it was time to come back.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was a very difficult decision. I mean, it's a difficult decision to move back, and once you're home where you were born, all your family is over there, so it's always very hard to leave. And I'm sure there were a lot of factors, as we discussed, that weighed into this decision to leave Lebanon. And for you, it seems it was a multitude of factors, including the way the practice is over there, and economics, and the security situation in the country that led you to move back to the U.S. So what do you think? I mean, as you were there and things started getting worse in the country, did you see any effects or did you witness any effects of the situation? One, on the people in the country, and number two, on the trainees, the students, the residents, the fellows, and maybe even the physicians working in the country.
Yeah, I mean, this whole crisis that affected Lebanon, and I think the biggest hit was the explosion at the port. I mean, that destroyed half Beirut. I think this had led to many people giving up on the country, and that's the sad part. The sad part is when people give up and leave for good without looking back. And this is a mass exodus. I mean, it's a loss of brains. And this is going to cost on the long run, because when the country starts losing the skills, the elite of the society, this is going to affect generations to come. I mean, the effect is obvious, as many physicians that you and I know who had dreamed about going to Lebanon, who canceled their dreams. The dream died in many people who have already gone to Lebanon, and everyone who had the opportunity to leave has left already, for their sake and for their kids' sake. This has affected the healthcare sector negatively and massively, because Lebanon has been known to be the hospital of the Middle East. And unfortunately, when you lose your doctors and you lose your nurses, your healthcare system, your healthcare level of care is going to go down. So very, very major negative effect. It's going to affect the education um, of um, of the students, of the residents, as they lose the experienced physicians, highly trained. So the skills are leaving. Um, Now, when you ask me about the effect on them, on their education as well, I mean, this economic crisis has put a lockdown on everything. As you know, um, this dollar banking system collapse has affected them. I mean, think about a medical student who wanted to come to the United States for an elective rotation. They can't even afford it to buy a ticket to fly, to rent a room for a month, to pay for their monthly expenses. I mean, this has become impossible. They can't even pay for their for a class. I mean, a credit card limit is $15 a month.
Right, right. Yeah, for people who don't know about this, I mean, people's life savings are in dollars in the Lebanese banks, and they're stuck. They're stuck at this point. They cannot use them outside the country. They use them inside the country with a big haircut, and therefore, I mean, I think you probably had the same. I've talked to a lot of the students right now at the different universities, and they're having actually trouble paying for their USMLEs, which are the exams that they do to go to the US, and even potentially for exams that they do to go to the UK or to other countries, even. Uh, and they're having difficulty even funding any electives they need to do outside of the country to get known and to be able to leave. Uh, and it seems to me this will have a pretty big effect on their education and on their probably future endeavors outside the country.
The negative effect is not just immediate, Khalil. It's for generations to come. I mean, this is the next generation of doctors. You're
Right.
talking about the next 10 to 20 years, what's going to happen. I mean, the shortage is going to be major. And not only that, if you think about even education in Lebanon, I mean, I was listening to the news the other day, and you probably heard that, for example, the American University of Beirut, they raised their um, uh, exchange rate for the US dollar from 1500 to 3900,
Right, right.
which is probably 2.5 times more.
And I think LAU did the same too afterwards. They did the
And,
same
and, and the
following
problem
AB.
the problem about this is, if you're for people who earn their money in Lebanon in Lebanese currency, if you're in the middle of your education and you still have 2 or 3 more years of medical school, and all of a sudden they say your tuition went up from 60 million to 150 million, and your earnings haven't changed, and you're still earning in Lebanese pounds, how are you supposed to pay for that? I mean, a fair way would be to help those students who are already halfway, let them finish with the agreement that they started with. And for incoming students, to offer the new tuition for those who can afford it, and look for more financial aid. So this is going to affect many students who aren't going to be able to complete their medical education, especially where the road is blocked. They don't see light at the end of the tunnel anymore. I mean,
Right,
their
right.
future, and I've heard this many times, Khalil, where Lebanon has become a large prison. The Lebanese people are stuck. They can't go anywhere. They feel like they live in a large prison.
Yeah. I agree, and I think the universities are stuck between a rock and a hard place too, because remember that you have to import your stuff from outside at the regular or the black market dollar rate, which is 84, 8,500, and you also have to pay your professors and your part timers, your full timers to try to keep them, entice them to stay, because otherwise you will lose them. So I think it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You have to raise the tuition somewhat to accommodate for that, but at the same time you risk alienating and maybe losing a large portion of or a portion of the population in Lebanon. I think it's mostly affecting right now the middle class and the low middle class and people who were able to
Which is the
afford these universities
majority.
and cannot, which is the
The
majority.
majority of the Lebanese
Right,
people
right,
are
right,
low to middle class. I mean,
right,
even the middle class is disappearing.
right. I think with the current
So
crisis, it's all disappeared at this point.
yeah, I mean,
So
just to give an example,
yeah,
like
yeah,
what's the minimum um, the minimum earnings in Lebanon? I think the salary by monthly should be like 650,000 to a million.
yeah, yeah,
So if you're gonna think a teacher earns 1.5 million Lebanese pounds,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's probably 30 million a year,
yeah,
and a tuition for a medical student is 150 million a year.
yeah, yeah.
It becomes very disproportionate.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the universities and the schools are stuck between the rock and the hard place. I mean, they rely like the rest of the Lebanese on financial aid from outside. People sending money from abroad, um, donations for the universities, and financial support is what's keeping them afloat. I'm sure they're not surviving because they're profitable in any of their sectors at this point.
Right, right. And I mean, from my standpoint, like I feel, I mean, me and you, I think we've worked with a good number of good and excellent students and residents, and I feel like we after we worked with them and after we've been there, we need to make sure that, or at least try to help out maybe with helping them have a way to further their education and look towards a brighter future.
We were like them. We were one of them. I
Right,
mean,
at one
this was
point.
the path that we followed, and they're on our path, and they need to be helped, especially in those difficult times.
Yeah, yeah,
So I believe it would be nice to have some kind of funds, network support for them to lead them, advise them, and support them as they go through this until this crisis ends.
right, 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 right. Yeah, I think as we move forward, I think and talk to more people, maybe that's a consideration. Us here or us who have had the option to leave and live here in other places, maybe be able to help these students have the same opportunities at least that we had ourselves before, and that have allowed us also to offer, I guess, our children opportunities that they probably would not have had we not been able to get here.
I mean, if we could do a fundraiser, Khalil, some non-profit type of fundraiser for, but it has to be tightly controlled, so the money goes to the right cause and to the right people,
Right, right, right.
and try to support students based on appropriate documentations. I think this would be a great idea.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
don't think it will be very hard to raise funds to support a certain number of students. We could set a goal, say like 5 students per year, top students based on grades, based on credentials, based on, and then increase the number as we go for the times that they need it. And
yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
soon things will turn around and things will get better. But I am in full support of starting some fund, based on US regulations, tax regulations, to avoid any um, unnecessary taxation
Right.
and support people. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, I think we'll work on that. I think we need to try to figure out maybe people on the ground and people here and try to figure out how to move
Yeah, I
this
mean, we can
this
form a
process
committee,
forward.
Khalil, a few physicians where we review documentation. I mean, we could dedicate some of our time. I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah.
And we have very large networks. I mean, if the cause is explained, the funds are clear, I'm happy to share it on my LinkedIn network. You share it. And we have as many people, I mean, our connections. And I guarantee you, I will have a lot of people participate in this.
Right.
And then we need to get it to the right people.
I agree 100% with that. Yep. Yeah, I think this was a good discussion. I think between us and
Welcome back to the United States.
yeah,
Welcome
thanks.
home.
You too. And
Welcome home.
I'm a bit envious of you right now. I mean, I'm sitting here in my small DC apartment right now while you're sitting in your Orlando house in beautiful weather.
It's 80 degrees, and my
Yeah,
kids are asking to swim tomorrow, so I'm gonna heat the pool a little bit. They've been
yeah,
on the scooters and on the bicycles all day today. I mean, Disney is 15 minutes from my home, so yesterday we went for a walk in downtown Disney. It's a
yeah.
beautiful area.
Yeah, you've got Disney 15 minutes from your home. I've got the White House 15 minutes from my home, and we can see great things every day over there.
Khalil, I used to live there, and I can tell you I don't miss that. I enjoy being far from all the politicians.
All right,
So
Wasim.
let's hope that 2021 will be a better year for all of us.
Yep.
Let's hope and pray for a brighter future for Lebanon, because it is dear to our hearts. Even if it's not going to be our main country, it's not going to be our primary residence, but it remains the motherland,
Right.
and it has a mission that we need to carry forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I second what you say. I even met today an ophthalmologist at the hospital who told me he has not visited Lebanon for 35 years because his family have moved out of the country during the war, but that there's a lot of things he still misses in the country, and I think all of us have the same. I mean, there's a lot of good things in the country, I think, and we all have the same feelings towards it.
The country has potential.
Right.
I think it's like a poorly ran company,
Right.
unfortunately, and hopefully this will get better one time.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, good talking to you today, and Happy New Year, Dr. Mchayleh.
Same to you. Happy New Year, Habibi.
This was Dr. Wassim Mchayleh of Advent Health in Orlando, Florida. We hope you enjoyed our podcast today, and we are looking forward to further interviews with other Lebanese physicians in the US and other places, discussing the political situation in Lebanon and the security situation there, and also discussing how we can help the medical residency students over there achieve their potential and try to achieve and further their education inside and outside the country. Thank you for listening today.